Hey there, and welcome into the Christ in Focus YouTube channel. My name is Spencer Smith, and in today's video, me and Ivan give you a look into our final segment of the Christ in Focus podcast, episode 1 of last week, and it was titled The Lens Check. This is going to be the final segment in every episode that we do, and essentially this segment is to talk about what are some things that we can bring back into our own lives, that we can bring back under the lens of Christ, bring back to Jesus, bring back to Scripture. And we ask that you do the same in your personal lives. Me and Ivan, we kind of take a look at where we were at last week. And again, I just ask that you do the same. Where do you think that you need to bring back to Christ in your life right now? Episode 2 of the Christ in Focus YouTube channel will be coming tomorrow. The full podcast, Tuesday, March 17th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you do 2 things for me if you enjoyed this video. Number 1, subscribe to the Christ in Focus YouTube channel. And number 2, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. All right, well, without further ado, let's get into the video.
I believe that our faith can be involved in every single area of our lives.
There's nothing there other than a surface level hangout club stamped with Jesus. Let's talk about that and let's say what's wrong.
I would go to venture that there is no spiritual purpose behind it.
We should be looking to lift each other up. Everything that we're doing is just going to be coming from this.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's why I love this last segment that we're going to get into, and it's called The Lens Check. And there was this podcast. I think this is part of why I loved it, Spencer. I remember, have you ever watched Brandon Marshall's show, I Am Athlete, on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so wow, 6 years ago now, 2020, during COVID, I remember it's when they first launched. But I remember one of my favorite episodes was when they had Deion Primetime Sanders. And Primetime, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's actually a believer. And he was actually talking about some very dark times in his life where he almost committed suicide in a hotel room, talked about his faith. But most importantly, at the end of the episode, and it's a bummer because I cannot find it anywhere on YouTube because of the whole beef that Brandon Marshall had with some of his co-hosts. But the point is, that episode, I can't find it anywhere. However, at the very end, they did a thing where they would say, hey, from a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at with your business, with your physical, with your mental, right? What we're doing is something very similar, but we're talking about our spiritual walk. And what we're going to be doing is saying, hey, what is one area of your life that you need to bring Christ back into the center of it? And that way we can also encourage one another. You and the audience, you can put in your comments about where you're at, and then we'll obviously keep that in prayer. And hopefully, as we continue to just navigate in this podcast, give you some practical things that can help you in those specific areas. So with that, Spencer, let's begin with you. In your lens check, what is an area in your life that you are looking to bring Jesus back into the center of?
Yeah, man, I think it actually kind of just goes to what we were just talking about. I was kind of a little bit talking to a mirror, but that balance of humility and boldness. But I also think the root of it, I think, is pride. And so I think for me, it's just not playing around with it and defeating the pride that can sprout out sometimes in my own life. Just because, and I think sometimes pride can start as not necessarily a negative thing every time. Like sometimes it could be, man, I'm so prideful. I take pride in the fact that I read the word every day. I'm in prayer, and like I've built that habit up with, thankfully, not on my own, not on my own power, of course, but that's the pride talking, is like, I've built this habit up. I've built this, when really it was Christ that took the scales from our eyes, and we would be nowhere without him. Like, we are literally nothing. Paul Washer said, if 99.9% of our salvation was Jesus and 0.01% of our salvation was of our own works, we'd all go to hell. And so I think just destroying pride and just reminding myself of that humility. And right here, I just want to talk in Proverbs 16, Book of Wisdom. Proverbs 16:18, it says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. So that was kind of 18 and 19. I keep doing that, maybe throwing an extra verse, my bad. But the point is that I think just daily reminding myself of humility, daily reminding myself of being humble, is something that I need to do personally, because for a long time without Jesus, for a long time without Christ in my life, I was very proud. I had a lot of pride in the things that I was doing outside of Jesus, whether that be with music and all the other stuff that I was doing apart from him. There was a lot of pride in that part of my life that since coming to Christ, and other areas, but since coming to Christ, I have just daily, and it doesn't pop up all the time, right? But sometimes it can sprout out, it can sprout its ugly head. And it's good to just daily be reminded, hey, be humble, come to Christ, pray, and if nothing else, come to the book of Proverbs, one proverb a day, wisdom. Ivan, what's your area?
So for me, man, I'm going to go ahead and talk about James chapter 1, verse 2. And the reason why I'm talking about that one, Spencer, is because just like I told you even a little earlier during the podcast, we've been going through the flu. My youngest daughter had her first ever serious flu, and it lasted a whole week. Thank God she's not feeling better. But man, when you're in the thick of it, sometimes it can be so draining. You lose hours of sleep. You lose peace. Your routine gets all messed up. So, for example, I have my notes ready for a fantasy football episode I've been meaning to shoot for the past week. Didn't do it because my little one was sick, so I couldn't get rest. But the point is, I found a very encouraging verse, and that's what I'm going to share with you all today. And it reads as follows. It reads, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness." And I circled here the word when. Count it all joy, my brothers, when, not if, but when, right? And I think when we start to embrace, Spencer, that the struggle is inevitable in our lives, you kind of get a better peace knowing, well, you know what? I can't say why me, because the Lord promised me, hey, this is going to happen. I'm going to face some kind of struggle. And just embracing it as a way of saying, you know what, Lord, I prayed for patience. And you know what? That doesn't mean that you're going to naturally give me patience. It means you're going to give me moments to be more patient in. Or if I say, Lord, you know what? I want to be more faithful as a husband. Guess what? My wife probably is not going to be the most loving during that, during that stretch, because it's going to teach me how to be unconditional in my love. It's going to teach me to be more gracious in my mercy or in my forgiveness. And it'll be just another opportunity for me to get closer to you, to reflect how you want me to be, which is the head of Christ in my household, which means, guess what? Laying my life for my wife, which can be hard to do whenever your flesh gets challenged. So my lens check is to embrace the inevitable, which is we are promised struggle because of the world that we live in, but to not be discouraged, but to use it as an opportunity to be like, you know what, Lord, this is going to get me stronger. And the way I can get stronger is by, number one, being grateful for the moment and trusting that it is part of your plan, which is going to get me closer to you, which is, I think, a better place to be at than anything else.
I agree, man. You know, my dad would say when I was younger, he said, son, the struggle bus, let me clear my throat here. He said, son, the struggle bus is either on its way to your house, it just parked at your house, or it's leaving your house. So get ready for when it comes back. And I think that to kind of go along with what you were saying, this is just unplanned, but it's interesting because I read this last night in Proverbs 3, Book of Wisdom. Proverbs 3, 25 and 26, near the end of the chapter, it says, do not be afraid of sudden terror, nor of trouble from the wicked when it comes. So I underlined that and said, not if, when it comes. For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught. Amen, bro. Well, let's get out of here, Ivan. End us out here. Tell them what all they can do.
Well, you know what? As always, on a YouTube channel, we want to thank you so much for, number one, tuning in, for making it this far. And the best way to support our channel is by hitting that like button as well as that subscribe button. It goes a long way as we look to continue to grow this channel. And we can't thank you all enough as well for being a part of it. So with that, everyone, take care. And we hope that you were blessed by this episode as we look to put Christ in focus.